Welcome to the I Triumph Real Estate Blueprint Podcast, where greatness awaits you. So when you start talking about purchasing an investment property, how do you pick a good location for buying the property? And what is one tip that most people don't usually think about when purchasing that first investment property, looking at location? Derek, what would you say is a good location for buying property?
Man, you always got to look at days on market, right? I mean, you got some, I'm in the Maryland, Washington, D.C. area, right? I'll take Uptown Northwest, for example. The properties in Northwest Washington, D.C., I mean, the average days on the market is 10 days or less.
Yeah.
And so obviously you're paying more for those areas of marketability. But at the same token, it gives you a little more confidence and consolation on the outsale to know that my property won't be on the market as long. And so I'm always looking at days on market. I'm always looking at buyers' market interest in certain demographic areas, right? Anything over $800,000. I don't know the price point what Terrence is in Memphis, but you figure here in Washington, D.C., although the days on the market is pretty low, the average outsale price for a property that's fully rehabbed is going to be over 750 or better. And so when you talk about, you would think the opposite with some of our markets that the properties don't stay on the market a little bit longer. Those are your lower price points that carry a little bit of risk. So it's kind of one of those things, you can probably spend a little bit less, but your days on the market might be a little bit more, or you can spend a little bit more. Your days on the market might be a little bit less, but it carries a little more risk. So it just really just kind of depends. What you think, Terrence?
Yeah. So here it's drastically different in terms of price point. I mean, so here the average price point is like 248. I just looked at it this morning. So the average price point is 248. And so for me, I take a look at the data, like where's the most activity going on there, like where's the transactions taking place at. And those are the areas that I want to give some strong consideration, depending on how close it is to the average selling price. So, for example, the average selling price is 248, and say, for example, a neighborhood, an area in the 500 to 600s may be doing really well, maybe outperforming everything else. I would still be skeptical to put all my eggs in that basket because the likelihood is a smaller pool of prospective buyers. And so I want to go ideally where, specifically on the flip, and even really on the buy and hold as well, I want to go where the appreciation is taking place at the most frequently. But on just for example, on the flip side, I want to be able to go where I know the vast majority of the public is going to be buying it. It's the same thing that we're looking at data two different ways, but we're still reaching the same conclusion. You're saying, listen, I want something that's going to sell really quickly, and I'm saying I want to see where the most activity is closest to the price point of the average price point for the area. Because what I've seen happen in the past is that an investor comes in, buy an expensive property, fix it up, and then in the sales data for the area is lower than the average. And so the houses sit, they have to offer up more concessions, of course, in a lot of cases too. If they're using somebody else's money, every month that you make those payments is eating into the profit as well. So I take a look at it from their perspective. But I think one thing that is overlooked oftentimes is that I look at what neighborhoods are coming up, and to determine that, I take a look at it's two things. It's a platform. It's a subscription based news business newsletter newspaper here that's called really it has something where it tracks all the data as it relates to permits, pool, licenses, things that about new construction, things that are going on in a certain area. So I look at that, but the most important thing I look at if they're putting in bike lanes, if a bike lane is coming into a neighborhood, I don't care what the neighborhood looks like today. If a bike lane is being put into a neighborhood and the city is investing tons of money in that particular area, the likelihood of that area being going up in the next probably like 3 to 7 years is on the right trajectory. Unless, of course, the problem with that angle is that you have a lot of politicians that go in and say this is what we're going to do, but they be out of office before it's able to come to fruition. But I really, really like areas where you see, of course, people walking dogs, and even if the area around it is kind of sketchy, I still pay close attention to those little sketchy areas because if it's closer to the epicenter where the most activity is going on there, I think being able to see where they're making some capital improvements in terms of safety for the pedestrians is always a thing to take a look at.